1954, Memphis, Tennessee. A 19-year-old truck driver walks through the door of a small recording studio. 3 years later, that same young man will be declared the most dangerous person in the world. Churches will condemn him, television networks will censor him, and millions of teenagers will worship him like a god. His name is Elvis Presley, and the recording he makes that night will change music forever. This isn't the birth story of rock and roll. This is the story of a revolution. Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January 8, 1935, in Tupelo, Mississippi. But that night, he didn't come into the world alone. His twin brother Jesse Guerin was stillborn. Elvis's mother Gladys never forgot that loss. And perhaps that's why she gave Elvis the love of 2 children at once. The Presley family was poor, really poor. They lived in a 2-room wooden shack. His father Vernon worked whatever jobs he could find, but the money was never enough. The electricity would get cut off. They couldn't find food. Elvis's first memory was the feeling of hunger. But there was something else in that house. Music. Every Sunday morning, Gladys would take little Elvis by the hand to the Assembly of God church. There was gospel music there. Drums clapping, screaming voices. Black and white congregations praying side by side, singing together. Elvis absorbed that rhythm. His body, his soul, everything filled with that music. When he was 11 years old, his mother bought him his first guitar. Actually, Elvis wanted a bicycle. But Gladys said, "No, son, a bicycle is dangerous. Let's get you a guitar instead." That guitar cost $12.95, and it changed the fate of the world. In 1948, the family moved to Memphis. They lived in the poor neighborhoods of the city. But Memphis was different. There was Beale Street, the heart of the blues. Black musicians played in bars at night, pouring out their souls. Young Elvis would walk those streets, listening to music for hours. B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, Rufus Thomas. He watched them all, absorbed them all. During high school, Elvis was a strange kid. He had long, greasy hair. He wore pink and black clothes. Other kids laughed at him. But he didn't care. He'd bring his guitar to school and sing during lunch break. Even the teachers were puzzled. What is this kid doing? Summer of 1953. Elvis graduated high school and started working as a truck driver at Crown Electric Company. He made $4 a day, but his mind was always on music. One day, passing by Memphis recording service, he saw a sign, "Record your own voice." $4. Elvis walked in. The secretary Marion Kiesker asked, "What kind of music do you sing?" Elvis replied, "I sing all kinds of music." "Who do you sound like?" "I don't sound like nobody." That day, Elvis recorded 2 songs as a gift for his mother. "My Happiness" and "That's When Your Heartaches Begin." When Marion heard that voice, she froze. She immediately called her boss, Sam Phillips. Sam Phillips owned Sun Records, and for years he'd been searching for something. He used to say, "If I could find a white boy who had the Negro sound and the Negro feel, I could make $1 billion." But actually, he wasn't just looking for money. He was looking for music, because he knew that something in America was about to change. In July 1954, Sam Phillips called Elvis back to the studio. This time, there were 2 other musicians with him, guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black. They rehearsed for hours. Nothing was working. Sam was getting frustrated. Then they took a break. Elvis picked up his guitar, and just for fun, started playing an old blues song by Arthur Crudup. "That's All Right." But he was playing it differently. Fast, wild, ecstatic. Scotty and Bill joined in. Sam Phillips ran out of the control room and shouted, "What are you doing? What just happened?" Elvis was stunned. "We don't know. We were just do it again. Right now, I'm recording." That night, rock and roll was born. And nobody realized it. 2 days later, DJ Dewey Phillips on Memphis's WHBQ radio played the song. The phone lines lit up. Listeners went crazy. "Who is this? What is this?" Dewey played the song 14 more times that night. Elvis wasn't home at the time. He was too nervous, couldn't bring himself to listen to the radio. He went to the neighborhood movie theater and hid, until his mother found him. Gladys said, tears streaming down her face. Son, everyone's looking for you. They're playing you on the radio. They want you. Elvis's life changed that night. But America's life hadn't changed yet. The real earthquake was just beginning. 1950s America was a frozen country. Everyone followed the rules. Men wore suits, women became housewives, young people had to do what they were told. Even music followed the rules. Whites listened to country, blacks listened to blues, and they never ever mixed. But Elvis was different. He was a white kid singing black music. Or rather, he was making music that had no color. Gospel, blues, country, pop. He mixed everything. And what came out was something that had never been heard before. By the end of 1954, Elvis started playing small bars with Scotty and Bill. Their first concerts were complete disasters. People just stared, didn't applaud, because they didn't understand. They didn't know what to do. But then something happened. One night, Elvis was so nervous on stage that his legs started shaking. By accident, he was moving with the rhythm. The audience started screaming, especially the young girls. Elvis was surprised, but then he understood. Oh, they like this. At the next concert, he did it on purpose. He swiveled his hips, shook his legs, danced on stage, and chaos erupted. Young girls were screaming. They were jumping up, running toward the stage. Men were getting angry. What kind of disgrace is this? Older people were horrified. This is the devil's work. But Elvis didn't stop, because young people understood him. And young people were tired of silence, of rules, of the frozen world. Elvis gave them a voice. He gave them freedom. In 1955, Elvis met a manager named Colonel Tom Parker. Parker wanted to make Elvis a national star. And he did. He sold Elvis's contract from Sun Records to RCA Victor for $40,000. That was an incredible amount of money at the time. In early 1956, Elvis recorded Heartbreak Hotel. The song went to #1. Then he appeared on television. First on the Dorsey Brothers show, then on Milton Berle's program, and then the Ed Sullivan Show. Ed Sullivan was America's most famous TV host. And at first he refused to have Elvis on his show. This kid is immoral. I won't show him. But the ratings were so high that Ed Sullivan had to back down. September 9, 1956. Elvis appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. 60 million people were watching. 82% of America. But viewers only saw Elvis from the waist up, because CBS television wouldn't show Elvis below the waist. His hips were too dangerous. Still, Elvis became a phenomenon. Every one of his songs went to #1 on the charts. Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, Love Me Tender. His concerts sold out. Girls fainted. Police officers came on stage to protect Elvis. But there was backlash too. Churches preached, Elvis is the devil's messenger. Newspapers wrote, rock and roll is corrupting the youth. The FBI even started following Elvis. Director J. Edgar Hoover created a file on Elvis. In southern states, some cities banned Elvis's concerts. Some radio stations refused to play his songs. In one place they burned Elvis's records. Literally. But Elvis didn't stay silent. Because he wasn't just making music. He was liberating a generation. Even black musicians were amazed. Little Richard said, Elvis took my moves. But I can't be mad at him. Because he introduced our music to the world. Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Ray Charles, they all respected Elvis. Because Elvis never denied black artists. On the contrary, he talked about them in every interview. I didn't invent anything, he said. I just listened to them and learned. This was revolutionary at the time. Because America was still segregated. Blacks and whites didn't eat at the same restaurants. But Elvis combined the music of both worlds. And young people didn't see color. They only heard music. In 1958, Elvis was drafted into the military. Some people were relieved. Finally, this madness will end. But they were wrong. When he returned 2 years later, Elvis was even bigger. Because he was no longer just a singer. He was a symbol. A symbol of freedom, rebellion and change. Elvis Presley's story ended tragically. On August 16, 1977, at his Graceland mansion in Memphis, he died at age 42. Heart attack. Years of drug addiction and unhealthy living had taken their toll. The world was shocked. Millions cried. But one thing didn't happen. Elvis didn't die. Because Elvis was no longer a person. He was an idea, a revolution, a legend. And ideas never die. To understand Elvis's impact on the music world, you have to look at what happened before and after him. Before Elvis, music was divided. Blacks made rhythm and blues, whites made country. Even radio stations were separate. Nobody dared to cross the boundaries. But Elvis broke those boundaries. He took the passion of gospel, the pain of blues, the sincerity of country, and melted them all together. Rock and roll emerged. And rock and roll wasn't just a genre of music. It was a way of life. It was being young, being free, rebelling against the rules. Elvis told young people, you can be different too. And that's a great thing. Everything that came after, passed through the path Elvis opened. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Bruce Springsteen, Prince, Michael Jackson. They were all Elvis's children. John Lennon once said, before Elvis, there was nothing. Paul McCartney was 14 years old when he first heard Heartbreak Hotel. My life changed, he said. From that moment on, I just wanted to be a musician. Bob Dylan decided while watching Elvis's television performances, I'm going to do this too. Bruce Springsteen, when he first saw Elvis, said, I saw God. But Elvis's influence wasn't limited to music. He was the catalyst for a cultural revolution. In the 1950s, America was a society with rigid rules. But Elvis spoke with his body. He went on stage and danced. He swiveled his hips. And society was shocked. Because until then, dancing was considered indecent. Especially for white men. But Elvis didn't care. And millions of young people didn't care either. Even his fashion was revolutionary. Long greasy hair, pink jackets, shiny suits. Men didn't dress like that. But Elvis did. And suddenly men could be colorful, free and eye-catching too. Elvis also brought sexuality into the music world. Before, pop stars had to appear distant, unreachable, squeaky clean. But Elvis was raw, passionate, dangerous. Young girls didn't just listen to him. They desired him. And that was something society feared. The sexual revolution of the 1960s, the feminist movement, youth culture, they all passed through the door Elvis opened. Because he showed society this young people have a voice too. And we cannot be silenced. Today almost 50 years have passed since Elvis's death. But he's still here. Graceland is one of the most visited homes in the world. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people go there to pay their respects. Elvis's songs are still played. His movies are still watched. Even young people listen to him. Because Elvis is timeless. So why is Elvis still the king? Because he wasn't just a good singer. He was a story. The story of a kid who came from poverty, reached the top, fell and became a legend. Because he was genuine. Elvis was never fake. What you saw on stage was who he was. Passion, fear, joy, sorrow, everything was real. Because he was brave. When society attacked him, he didn't back down. When he was banned, he sang even louder. And because he was a man who loved music, he didn't do it just for fame or money, but for the music. When he sang gospel, tears would flow. When he played blues, his soul would pour out. Elvis is the father of rock and roll, but he's also a symbol of change. The voice of the young generation, and a legend that will live forever. Today when you listen to music, you hear Elvis. When you step on a stage, you see Elvis. When you're brave, when you're different, when you're yourself, you carry Elvis's spirit. He taught us this: music isn't just sound. Music is freedom. Music is revolution. Music is love. And that's why Elvis Presley never died. He's still here. In his songs, in his moves, in his legacy. And every new generation rediscovers him. Because the king is the king forever. What do you think? What was Elvis's greatest contribution? Let's meet in the comments.